My name is Andy. I'm an alcoholic, and my sobriety date is September 22nd, 2007. And I'll do the arithmetic for you. That means I've got a little over 12 years of clean and sober living. And I want to thank the people from Evolutions who've invited me here to share a little bit about my experience. And I thank them for two reasons. It's because maybe I can get a message out to help some other people by sharing my message. I help myself, maintain this wonderful life that I have found. And my life wasn't always that wonderful. In fact, for many, many years, I woke up every day very unhappy. Every day was an uphill struggle. Everything was an uphill climb. I was full of unhappiness. I was prone to misery. And I never knew what it was all about. And I looked for a lot of solutions. And I looked for the toys, I looked for the money, I looked for the power, I looked for the woman, I looked for the sex. And finally I found it in drinking and drugging. And it worked for a while, but not for a very long while. And eventually, all I did was drink and drug to escape, not to get happy, not to feel good. And my life really took a downturn. And it got worse, And it happened over a period of time, and I didn't see myself losing everything, because this disease I have didn't let me see it. And I lost my friends, I lost my business, I lost my home, I lost my cars, finally I lost my family. But I got lucky, I came to a place and I detoxed, and I got pointed in the right direction by people. Where did I get pointed? Where I really got pointed was to the rooms of AA and NA, where I met a lot of people, and these people were happy, and they laughed. They seemed to have good lives. And for a while, all I wanted to do was go to meetings so I could hang out with these people, because they hugged me. And they told me that they would be my friend. And I was living a very isolated life. But after a while, I realized that I wasn't getting happy like they were getting happy. I wasn't feeling full like they were feeling full. And, I didn't really understand why. And I got a sponsor, and the sponsor showed me a page in the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous, which is their textbook, and it said, if you want what we have and are willing to go to any length to get it, you are probably ready to take certain steps. And I didn't really know what that was all about. And I found out that the program of recovery is not the fellowship of AA or NA, and although going to meetings is great, and although being around sober and clean people helps, the program of recovery was in what they call the 12-step program. And that's what I'm here to talk to you people about. And I'm going to first talk a little bit about what that means, the 12-step program. If you go to the literature, it says that the 12 steps are spiritual in nature and will enable you to have a sober and complete and happy life. But I didn't understand what that meant. What does spiritual in nature mean? And I asked a lot of questions, and everybody had a definition of it, and I could never really learn what it meant to learn to live this spiritual life. And why do steps that are a guideline on how to live a spiritual life if you don't understand what a spiritual life is? And then one day I was told a story that I want to share with you. And the story goes like this. There's a group of woodpeckers, and they live in the woods. And one day a woodpecker is born that has a bad wing, and it's small, and it's, not capable of flying with the other woodpeckers. But the other woodpeckers are nice woodpeckers, and they want this small woodpecker to feel good. So before they fly off in the morning, they tell him, you see that tree? And they point to the biggest, fattest oak tree in the forest. They go, we need to knock that tree down. So what we want you to do while we're away is to go over to that tree and start pecking on the tree. So it'll get knocked down eventually. And they fly away, and this little woodpecker gets over to the tree and starts pecking on the tree. Now the other woodpeckers know that it'll take his whole life, they'll never knock it down, but they want him to feel useful and good. And while they're away, he's on that tree pecking. A cloud comes over the sky, and there's a roar of thunder, and a lightning bolt comes down and hits the tree, and it falls over. And when they come back that night, they say, "How did this tree fall down on the floor? How did this possibly happen?" And the little woodpecker goes to them and says, "I don't know. I just went where I was supposed to go, and I just did what I was supposed to do, and God took care of the rest." And to me, that's the best description of learning to live the spiritual life. What I had to do was go where I was supposed to go and do what I was supposed to do, and then everything would work out. The only problem is I lived in a world where I wasn't capable of doing it. I lived in a world that I thought was unfair, where everybody else got the breaks and I didn't, where everybody seemed to have these meaningful lives, where everybody had families and jobs and friends and I didn't, and I worked harder than they did and I busted my behind, and somehow I didn't have any of these things. And I didn't realize until I started coming to these meetings and getting a sponsor and working these steps that the problem was I didn't have the same sense of fair play, the same sense of morality that these people did. And I didn't really know what was right or wrong. That somehow over the course of my life, I had developed a defective characteristics. I had developed a bad personality. You know, lying was second nature to me. Cheating was second nature to me. And that's how I lived my life. You know, I used to have a saying, if you didn't get caught, you didn't do it. And I never realized that that's not how the regular people live their lives. That regular people try and do the right thing, try and have generous souls, try and, you know, be of service to other people, try to help out, try and be charitable, you know. And what I needed to do was to find a process in which I could learn how to do those things, and not only learn how to do them where they were impossible tasks, but learn to do them where they were second nature to me. And that's what these steps are all about. I found out that these steps are a process. They're guidelines to living a good life. You know, and there are going to be various different parts of these steps we're going to talk about. You know, the first three steps are an admission. You know, the first three steps are, you know, admitting that I had a problem, that they're figuring out that there could be a solution and becoming willing to take that solution. And then that next 3 or 4 steps are going to tell me to look at myself internally and see what was wrong with me and identify the things that are wrong with me, you know, and it's going to ask me to look for another person to help me do this. So together we can figure out what the problem is. You know, there's a saying that if you don't know what the problem is, you can't fix it. So I had to, for the first time, because of these steps, had to learn how to look at the real Andy, look at the truth, you know. And then after I learned what the truth was and what was wrong with me, I had to learn what am I going to do to remove these bad things, and how do you remove them, and what do they get replaced with. And the steps are going to teach me how to do that too, you know. And then finally, what it's going to do is, and that's why we all have a sober date or a clean date, it's going to teach me how to clean up my past. I call it a clean slate. How I can start all over again. I lived a life where I had to look out the window before I would walk out on the street to see who was waiting for me there. Was it a cop? Was it someone serving me with papers? Was it someone who just wanted to beat the hell out of me? I had to look at, you know, the store before I walked in and made sure that there wasn't someone in there. I had to learn how to clean up my past so that I could go anywhere and be a free man, you know? And then finally, I had to learn how to live a reasonably happy and peaceful life. You know, I had tried many times in my life to live the clean and sober life, and I did get some success at it. You know, there were times when I had 1 year or 2 years clean and sober, but the only problem was I was miserable. So the next 3 steps, or the last 3 steps, are going to teach me how to go through life and lead a productive, happy life, you know? Because if I wake up in the morning and I'm happy, then I don't need to drink. Because drinking was actually my solution. And now I have the 12 steps that are going to be my solution. And in the beginning, it seems like it's going to be a lot of work, but I can tell you that after 12 years, it just becomes as much second nature as waking up in the morning and brushing your teeth. It becomes just as second nature as, making a cup of coffee in the morning. I don't work these steps anymore, I live these steps. And I see the steps as beautiful, and we talk about 12 steps, but they're really all intermingled, There's, an admission in the first step that turns into, a solution in the second step, which turns into a decision in the third step. There are, looking at character defects, which turn into wanting to lose these character defects. They're all intertwined like the symphony of a beautiful opera or show where one song blends into the other. And if we do it right, you live a great life. And I can tell you in my 12 years of, recovery, I've seen hundreds and hundreds of people try this. And the one thing that's true is anyone who's really given 100% to it, and 100% means you have to be willing to go to any length. And the book, the guidebook doesn't fool us. It uses words like we have to be painstaking when we do this. We have to be thorough when we do this. We have to be willing to go to any length when we do this. If we do this, living the spiritual life which these steps will teach us will not only keep us sane, will keep us sober, but more important, will keep us happy, will keep us peaceful. And when that happens, all those good things that I used to look for solution in, the relationships, the friends, the family, they all come back and you get it all back again. I'm happy to say that 12 years ago, I was living homeless, dirty, stealing for money, stealing for food. And today I have a beautiful home, I drive a beautiful car, I have beautiful friends. And I attribute it all to this 12-step program. So what we're going to do, in the next, few series is we're going to go through each step on an individual basis. And as we go through each step on an individual basis, I'm going to share not what the book says, but I'm going to share what my particular story is, what my particular experience is, and how I did it right, and how I might have done it wrong, and how I had to change and do it over again. And I want to thank you all for listening, and we'll come back and do step 1 next. Thank you.